You are now listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Podcast.
Welcome to Ride With Me, episode 136. Today is August 16, 2025. And before I bring in my guest, I would like to just kind of give you guys a little life update. Yes, it's been a minute since I posted a podcast episode. I mean, just a reminder, guys, this is only a hobby. I don't get paid by pumping episodes left and right. You know, it's a hobby, and once in a while the wife does remind me, hey dude, you haven't touched your equipment for a while, you got to get on it. So it's good to let you guys just to let you guys know, we're gonna have about the next 6 weeks of episodes being pumped out. I already have people lined up to record episodes, so you know, I will get back to you guys as soon as possible. The hotline is still there, but I mean, no one really used it. My buddy Tyrone did me a favor just to show you guys what it's about, and he did send me a message one day, and I played it for you guys. The hotline's still there, but it is what it is. And so, but if you know, I'm not a big fan of saying please follow, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. But I've noticed that when you remind people that it does help. I've been posting little links. I've been posting clips of previous episodes, and I always hit the little icon to follow, and I've gotten a couple more followers, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, back to life. You know, the last episode I posted that week, I had my cousin and his wife and my 2 godkids come over. So we took them to Nosberry Farm for the first time. Took them to Medieval Times to eat dinner. And I learned something about kids that week, that, you know, children can tell you how they feel, but without even knowing if it's true or not. So, for example, both my godkids stated that they were afraid of heights, or they get motion sickness. But at Nosberry Farm, that went out the door. I told my cousin, hey, primo, just if they try to pull this BS, don't let them pull it. Don't let them do that to you, because I have hundreds of photos that prove that they are not motion sickness. They don't get motion sickness, and they're not afraid of heights. Maybe they are afraid of heights, but during the drops and stuff like that, they were doing just fine. And so they were here, and then my son, my oldest, graduated high school back in June, and so we've been focusing on, and he had a prom, and so we've been focusing on him, because you know he just turned 18 about 13 days ago, so he is now an adult. So we've been also helping him try to get his license. And my brother Danny was in town, and my brother Danny took him he was here for a bit, and he took him to go get his driver's permit, because I was at work, my wife was at work. So I thank him for being here and helping us out while we were obviously working. But he took him to get his permit, and I took him a couple times driving. He almost killed me the last time, but he's getting the hang of it. So then there's that life update. What else have I done? Anything new? I got into golf. You guys know Officer Ricky. He's been bugging me for years to go play with them, and I always told him, no, it's not my thing. Well, yeah, it happened, and I loved it. It was pretty fun. Just, you know, hanging out with Officer Ricky, and then being my, you know, like my brother-in-law, and then my wife's brother, also my brother-in-law. They showed me a good time, and I've never really hung out with my wife's brother-in-law. I say that because Officer Ricky is married into the family, and my wife's brother obviously is the brother. He's family. Ricky is also, but you know what I mean. I'm trying to explain the difference between. In Spanish, it's easy. Cuñado con cuño. There's 2 different definitions. But anyways, yeah. So, like I said, this, I know you guys love. Some of you guys love hearing these stories and my guests and stuff. So, I apologize, but like I said, I have family. You know, family to me comes first. So, I will, like I said, the next 6 weeks are gonna happen. I already have people lined up, and then going forward, I realized that I record my podcast episodes and I post them on Saturdays, but I noticed that every podcast that I listen to, you know, they post theirs on a Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'm going to start. Yes, I said today was a Saturday, but in reality, it is Saturday, but it's going to get posted on Tuesday. So just to give you guys a heads up. Also, before I introduce my guest, I would like to let you guys know that this episode is brought to you by SolarX Insurance. Fast, friendly, and affordable coverage you can count on. Need an SR22? You ride a motorcycle? Are you already insured? SolarX has you covered. They help drivers no matter the situation. Call today at 877-736-4719. That's 877-736-4719 and get back on the road with confidence. Go check them out, guys. And good morning, Caralyn. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm good, but I think there's really something with like, what is it, the retrograde and the moon and the planets and stuff and like the full moon? Because I've been like so scattered this morning. I'm not usually like that. I'm so like a creature of habit with like organization and structure, but I was like all over the place. So I'm better now.
Don't worry about it. I myself haven't recorded an episode in months. And I decided to rearrange my setup. I couldn't get the audio. I was like, wait, what's going on? No way. I'm fumbling here with my own equipment. So, but no, you're good. You're good. We both started off kind of late, but it is what it is. Like right now, I feel like my microphone's not even loud enough. Usually there's a little red light that's blinking like crazy because I'm too loud. It's not doing that. So I'm hoping I don't have to redo this all over with you again. But a quick little get to started on how I met this young lady here. So I listened to, if you guys remember, I had Mikey on mute on the podcast. It's been a minute, and so I listened to Mikey on mute's podcast, and this young lady was on the podcast, and so I reached out to her and see if she was willing to be a guest on mine, and here she is. And so again, welcome, Caralyn.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. You know what's funny? A little quick funny story about Mikey on mute. I just recently found out that Mikey and I are technically coworkers.
Really?
I met this guy online on TikTok, and I posted a photo, and there was a trophy on this photo, and he said, hey, we have that trophy as well. So he works for our company, but in the East Coast. And I work out of our company in California. So I tripped out on that. I was like, we work for the same company. So then I went on my company email and I typed up his name and it came up. I was like, no shit, we're coworkers, bro. That's when they say it's a small world, it really is.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Like I said, I was like, wait a minute, dude, we're freaking coworkers. That's crazy. So
that is crazy.
I sent him a picture of his email, and he's like, dude, that's an old photo. It's like from 20 years ago. I got to fix that photo. So anyways, how are things in the East Coast?
They are hot. It's so hot. Well, look, I lived in Florida in Orlando for 7 years, so nothing is as hot as like down south heat. But like East Coast heat is also just equally as miserable. So, but there's a pool where I live. So luckily there's that, but it's been very hot.
I am in California right now. It's 5 a.m. And I asked my guests if they can do it this early because it does get hot in here. I cannot have my AC on because then it would make too much noise, and these microphones are noise sensitive. That it'll capture the fan or the sound of the AC. So I ask you guys, and thank you so much for. And as it is 5 a.m, I'm sweating.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm sweating. So I do not like. I'm not a fan of the heat. The guys wanted to go golfing yesterday. I'm like, bro, you understand that it's 100 degrees outside.
That's crazy.
And they're like, so no. So we're making up for it right now. After this, I am gonna go. Yes, I got introduced to golf too, guys. Sorry, that's another reason why I've been MIA. You guys know Officer Ricky. Officer Ricky's been bugging me for years. My compadre Roger, you guys know Roger. He's been bugging me for years, and I finally caved in, and I enjoyed it. So it was pretty fun. So now I'm gonna get my 16-year-old son out there to see if he has the same experience I did. But yeah, no, it has been hot. It's been hot. It's crazy. I mean, you know what though? I think it's been kind of late over here in California. It hasn't been that hot like consistent. I think this is like the second time maybe in summer that we get 100-degree temperature. I think the East
Oh,
Coast has been getting hit hard.
yeah, we have, I think today it's going to be like 91. And then where I'm at, we're getting like the smoke from the wildfires in Canada. So the air quality's been bad. I mean, maybe because I'm younger, I haven't really noticed it and I don't really have health issues. But yeah, we've had like bad air quality alerts for like the last week.
Yeah. I believe
Yeah.
even England had like temperatures, like really hot temperatures, and they don't even own AC units over there.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Why would they? It snowed in Australia. I saw like a couple days ago they had snow over there.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It is.
Weather's been. I'm starting to believe that. What's that one guy? Wasn't wrong about climate change or whatever
Yeah.
his name was. Um, but let's get to it. Let's get started. I mean, you are obviously a. I met you on like I said through Mikey on mute on his podcast. You are a let me see. Obviously, you have a son, right?
Yep, I do. Yep, he just turned 10 about a week ago.
How is it being a mom to a 10-year-old?
Well, we are clearly in the preteen phase. So to be honest with you though, his personality is so similar to me. So like the attitude and like, the sassiness, I'm only getting back what I gave out at that age. So I can't blame him because I do teach him to be outspoken but respectful, of course, and let him voice his opinion, but it can come back to bite you sometimes. But
They
we're gonna weather the storm.
they do say that the parents pay a tenfold for what we did to our parents. So whatever you did to your mom, he's gonna do to you.
Yeah, well, hopefully not, because I didn't have like the greatest relationship with my mom as far as like communication and stuff. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But as far as like the eye rolling, the sighing, yeah, I'm definitely getting that back for sure.
Well, you say you didn't have your relationship with your mom. That's what we're.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I started this podcast. You want to touch a little bit on that? How's it?
Yeah. So I'm adopted. I was adopted, I believe, at like a year old. So from that aspect, my adoptive family was like my family growing up. It's not like I was adopted when I was 10 and had already, been in the system or whatever. So from that aspect, it was like kind of like normal. But as I got older, I don't know. I do not think I fully bonded emotionally with my adoptive parents, which is something, I mean, attachment styles happen whether you're adopted or not.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
sometimes you just don't form those healthy attachments. So as I got older, I just noticed I closed up a lot more. Um, a big part of it was obviously within family systems. I'm sure my mom would talk to like her siblings, like, oh my gosh, my daughters are driving me crazy or whatever you would vent about. But it would get back to me through my cousins sometimes, like, oh yeah, my mom said that your mom said that you X, Y, and Z. And that made me feel like nothing is in confidence,
Yeah, exactly.
which I'm sure I'm going to start dealing with that as my son gets older. But that was like a huge, like, trust breaker. And then she would read my diary, which, look, the stuff that she did, I'm not saying is like abnormal for a parent, but for me personally, it really affected things. She read my diary one time and wrote her own commentary.
What the
And
hell?
yeah, I wrote some entry. I think I was venting about something about my mom, obviously, and she read it and she like wrote like a response to it.
Me
And
starting this podcast and venting about my mother made things worse. So this is my diary in a way.
yeah, well, yeah, we'll get to that too. But yeah, so that trust was just broken. And then it had to have been towards the end of middle school. I went to this youth conference or whatever, and I admitted to my youth leaders that I had an eating disorder. I was like a combination of calorie restriction, purging. I didn't do like diet pills or anything until like later on. But anyway, when I shared this with the youth ministers, I'm assuming because of my age and it's an eating disorder, they called my parents. And so when my mom questioned me about it, she was like, well, who told you you have an eating disorder? And I honestly don't recall the rest of that conversation, but that was like the starting point for the divide. And look, now that I'm a parent, I understand her reaction. I can only imagine my reaction if my son ever comes to me with something that heavy. You know what I'm saying? You don't have time to like process how you're going to react. But that reaction just really set the stage for just kind of like a fractured relationship. Now, I always would speak to my mom. It wasn't that type of thing, but it just, I mean, it's one of the reasons I'm speaking out is being a parent now, I cannot consciously make certain decisions that I know are going to affect my son negatively. Am I going to make mistakes? Absolutely. But if there's situations where I can make a conscious effort to do something different than how I was parented, I'm setting my son up to hopefully not have to go through even like a fraction of the stuff that I went through.
Don't repeat the cycle, pretty much. Yeah,
Absolutely.
don't repeat the cycle. Yeah.
Yep.
Like I said earlier, well, in the intro, my son graduated high school, and it's like my wife she hugged me, and she's like, because so what my son did, like, made me cry. So you haven't heard this one, but so my son's middle name is Nicholas. I'm sorry, Andrew. His name's Andrew. My legal name is Andres in Spanish, right? So Andrew's the same thing as Andres, but it's
right.
So when he found out that the reason why his name is in English was because his biological mom said that Andres was too of a paisa name. Paisa meaning wetbag and, like beaner and all that good stuff. So my name was too wetbag, too paisa, right? So his middle name is Andrew. So when he was up on the stage when they called his name as Nicholas Andres. So he asked them to call him Andres. Oh yeah, exactly. And I started crying. So my wife hugged me and she said, "You broke the cycle." Because I didn't graduate high school. I'm lucky to have the job that I have, with what I know. And so she's like, "You broke the cycle." And I was bawling when he's like, because they all knew. I didn't know. They all knew that he was going to do that. So when I heard it as a surprise, and I was like, "Oh my God, my kid loves me."
Aww, that's such a nice story.
So he like I said, he honored me by adding the name. I mean, it's still his name, but he had them pronounce it in Spanish. So I was like, So again, point of that story is that my wife told me, is like, "You broke the cycle."
And it's like that also shows you like how much kids are watching us and listening to us when we wouldn't even think that they are.
And that's like like I said, to my story, is that I always felt that my mom never loved me, right? So by him doing that, he knows that his dad loves him. Like, so that's two reasons why my wife said, "You broke the cycle." Yeah. Your son loves you that much because you love him that much that he went and did that to his name. So he was like, "Dad, now that I'm 18, I'm going to go legally change it." "Nah, dude, just leave it alone. You're fine. You're still in Andres, bro. It's just in English."
Yeah.
But yeah, that was breaking the cycle. That's a lot of things that maybe our parents never broke, and they continue their traditions of how they were raised until us millennials were born, and we're like, "Nope. Now we have podcasts, fuckers." No.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm assuming question number 1, you already answered it. What inspired you to start your personal journey on mental health recovery? And I take it,
your
mama.
Yeah. I mean, a lot. I mean, it's a lot of things. It's just, and honestly, most of it is we need to have more stories out there about mental health from like the nitty gritty aspect of it, not like, oh, let's go in the yard and meditate and watch the butterflies fly around and let's read all these self help books. Those things are good for mental health maintenance, but a big part of it is the yucky stuff.
When I was going through my little episodes and stuff, you always felt like I was alone. That no one's going through this what I'm going through. This is not happening to someone else. I started doing this podcast and I start hearing stories like, wow, that happened to you too, or wow, I didn't know that about you. Wow, and that was the purpose of this podcast, was if you're going through similar situations that we went through, my guests have gone through, or what I've gone through, this is to tell you you're not alone. We survived it. You'll be fine. This is what we did to survive it, and this is what you can do. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it, but that's the reason why I have multiple guests to share their stories, to see, hey, you know what, this is what we did to, or this is what we're doing to outcome it. Like, I had a friend of mine that he called me yesterday and he was venting, and sorry if I put his business out there, but he called me yesterday and I'm like, hey, this is what I'm going through with my girlfriend right now. And I'm like, what I see, bro, based on what I've experienced in my past, is that she's trying to find an out. She's trying to find an out of the relationship. And this is what she picked for that out. And no joke, he calls me like maybe 20 minutes later, said, fuck, you were right. You were right. She pretty much ended the relationship. I'm like, what? Over something so stupid. But I was able to call it out because been there, done that. So
exactly.
I'm like, the only plus about you, bro, is you're not in jail. She would put me in jail just to get rid of me. So when she wanted an out, she would call the police.
Right.
But let's see here. Obviously, I was gonna say, can you take us back to the moment when you realized that mental health needed to be a priority in your life?
Oh, well, I'm going to say this. I recognized for sure, like middle school age, high school age, that I definitely was battling depression. I didn't know that back then. I look back at that now. There was like one of my high school best friends attempted to not be here anymore. My grandmother died. The high school that I went to, there was probably, no lie, 1 or 2 students that would die from car accidents every school year. Damn. Because it was in a rural area. Yeah. And that high school was the first time I saw a dead body at a funeral. So there was a lot of things that I internalized and manifested as like depression and stuff like that. Now, fast forward to postpartum, after I had my son, that was the first time that I knew something was like seriously wrong. I was overwhelmed easily being a new mom. I was like super emotional. I definitely was dealing with depression, the anxiety. I didn't shower for like days at a time, but I was like, oh, I'm just a new mom. I'm sure all new moms.
We did in California. In California, we did smell a funky smell coming from the East Coast.
That was me.
That was you.
Me.
That explains it.
This was around like 2016-ish, so that was me.
Exactly. Yeah,
I was causing some extra smog over there. But yeah, and there were days where I would get triggered. Now, my son's father and he was abusive. That's like a whole other can of worms there. But because of dealing with that and all these other things, I would get triggered, and I didn't know I was being triggered at the time, but I wouldn't be able to leave the house. I would call into work, and my son and I would just not leave the house for like the whole weekend. And so a coworker, I mean, obviously noticed. I'm sure everyone noticed what a mess I was. And she was like, here's the name of my doctor, whatever. She said, I think you need to consider getting on medication. And she didn't say it in like a rude, like, girl,
yeah,
it's time.
Yeah.
You know, she's very compassionate about it. And I did. And I was put on Prozac, and anxiety medication. I don't remember what it was. And the medication was helpful. But look, I'm 4'11". I think I'm maybe like 110 pounds. When I got off of Prozac, I was taking, they had me at like 40 milligrams or something crazy like that. And I literally could have probably seen someone chop their hand off, and I was so detached and disassociated. I probably would have just sat there and just watched someone bleed out while their hand got cut off, because it did the opposite. It took me way too far to the other end where I felt like nothing.
Right.
So eventually I was like, I need to get off of these. I want to find, for me personally, a different way. I want to learn how to cope with these things. And I'm not saying that people who take medication or go to therapy, they are learning how to cope. But I wanted to really feel those hard situations and get myself out of it. Now, had I thought I was going to maybe harm myself or something like that, I would have gotten back on the medication. But I was like, I don't want to take this medication all the time. And really, truthfully, antidepressants, you're not really supposed to be on those long term. And they can do a lot of damage to your brain chemistry. So I just was like, as much as it's going to suck, I have to sit and feel these feelings so I can figure out how to regulate my nervous system on my own. And maybe that way teach my son how to do those things in return.
Right. Medication is not, like I say, it's not a good thing. Medication is my wife's perfect example of why medication is not good. Here's this pill to kill your cancer. Oh, wait, it made you diabetic. So, yeah.
Right.
And then when she was little, they're like, dude, you have like old people diseases and we don't know what to find. So they just pumped her with steroids, and now she went back to the hospital to figure out what steroids they were pumping her with. And they're like, we don't have those records anymore. So, yeah, because this was like 20 years ago. And so she was like, well, this is bullshit. So, yeah, medication is not. At first I was telling my wife, yeah, whatever. But now I'm starting to see it. So, yeah, no, medication. You're not supposed to be on it forever.
No. And now there are some mental illnesses where medication is like really, really crucial, like bipolar and some other things like that. However, I'm a strong, strong advocate for that not being the only remedy. You've got to learn how to sustain good mental health in the event that, yeah, you do get off that medication at some point. So I believe in like different methods that you can use all at one time. Go to therapy, be on the medication, read the self-help book. But I don't believe necessarily that anyone should just purely be on medication and that's all that they do.
Was it difficult at first to come up publicly about your struggles?
Yeah. I remember, so I eased into it by starting my blog, but I remember the first time I did a live or it was on a podcast. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I don't shower, and I went through this phase where I wasn't brushing my teeth enough and I was embarrassed to go to the dentist. So I did, I was like, great. I'm going to see my followers number go boop, 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 boop. And those people are going to be like, oh, that dirty girl. I knew her back then. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I was like, I just don't care. I don't care. I'm not like consciously having like a calendar, like, okay, this day, I'm not showering, not doing anything to clean myself. It's not like that. It's something that if you don't go through it, people think you're being lazy. They think you're dirty. They think whatever they want. And I just told myself, honestly, they're going to think whatever they want, no matter how much I try to like glamorize not taking a shower. So right. I might as well just be myself and say it. And that way you're able to actually tell the people who should be around you, because those people are going to stick around because they don't care at all. They might be concerned about you, but they're not going to turn their nose up at you because of your struggles.
Right. Yeah, no, I when they told me to start the podcast, it took me a while to be like, do I want to do this? Do I want to do this? I want to piss some people off. And, but, like I said, you have friends and family that actually care for you, and they're like, do it, push you to it. Like my uncle's the one that told me to start the podcast. Why? Because I would share stories. It's like, wow, you have a lot of stories, man. Like you should share them on a podcast. So he helped me get through that fear. Like just go do it.
Yeah.
Go do it. Earlier you mentioned something about your son's father.
Yes.
Abusive. How was that?
Yeah. Well, and you get an exclusive here because this is something that I've not shared. Now, some people in my life know, but I've not shared this like publicly yet. And so I met my son's father on an online dating app. Yes, I did. So my advice following that is, ladies, gentlemen, just be careful out there. You don't know what you're going to end up with. So we'll just start there. So I met him on a dating app. He was a rebound relationship. I'll be completely honest about that. I had just ended like a 3-year relationship with someone, met my son's father. He's very handsome, very charming, seemed, like a normal person. Fast forward to I get pregnant. It wasn't like planned per se, but it also wasn't like a surprise. You get what I'm saying? Like we weren't like, yes, let's have a kid. We didn't have it like planned out per se. So, throughout the relationship, he was extremely verbally abusive, biggest gaslighter ever, psychologically abusive, extremely controlling and possessive. And when I first met him, I was like, yeah, if I ever get pregnant, I would never come after you for child support. And I mean, yes, ladies, I know it's like a demented perspective to have, but I don't know. I'm just not like a money hungry person. So I was telling him, for the purposes of being like a gold digger or whatever, I'm not going to come after you for your money if I get pregnant. And he told me these stories about the mothers of his other children. Yes, he has 3 or 4 other children, all with different women. Hindsight is 2020, as they say. But he would tell me these stories about them and like how horrible they were, and they kept their kids from him, and one of his children he couldn't find. And so I didn't know who he really was at this time. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, how horrible. How could they do that to you? And this and blah, blah, blah. Well, I soon began to find out later on why some of those women, he couldn't find them. He would constantly accuse me of cheating while I was pregnant even. The neighbor told him, yeah, you should get a paternity test on her. Mind you, I didn't even know this neighbor.
The hell?
And so that fueled his like paranoia or whatever. It was his child, obviously. What really signaled me to really, really get out of the relationship was 2 things. First thing, he had one of his sons from another relationship lived with us. He had a lot of behavioral issues. He was in a special school for kids with behavioral issues. He had tried to allegedly stab another child with like an ink pen or something, with throw chairs. I can understand that kid was a troubled kid, and I know why now. But anyway, I was like, I don't know. That's not safe for us to bring a baby into this environment. So I told him, can we please move and get enough bedrooms so that our son that's coming can have his own room? Because your son now, he sees that you're having yet another child with yet another woman. He's having to, compete for attention yet again. I was like, what's to say that he's not going to take that out on the baby? So he refused. And so I was like, I've got to get out of here. There's a lot of things that I'm like skipping over, but it was the relationship from hell. This man had me walking probably almost 10 miles when I was 6 months pregnant in Melbourne, Florida, in the middle of the summer, which it was like 100 degrees, because he couldn't get us a ride home from the car shop. That type of crazy stuff. So One night when he was at a night class and his son was in the shower, I packed up a bunch of my stuff, put it in my car, so that way the next morning when I left for work, I just wasn't going to come back. And that's what I did. A coworker let me stay with her until I could get my own place. Fast forward to the birth of my son. His father claimed he couldn't get off of work to be there for the birth, which I find asinine and crazy. It's probably a lie. And so after our son was born, he sent over some woman who allegedly worked with a life insurance company. I now think that he sent that lady there to get my son's social security number and to just kind of like suss out like what the living environment was, whatever. So I asked her to leave because he told this lady that our son was his godchild.
Not even his son.
He didn't even claim him as his son.
Damn.
There was another time over a phone conversation where he didn't even know our son's name. So I think my son had to have been about maybe, he was less than a year old, I think. I decided to file for child support. And it was basically because I was struggling. I could hardly pay rent. I was having to pay childcare and blah, 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 all these things. And he didn't like that. Because of missed paperwork and all this stuff, I actually missed the court date for it. And by the time that all had settled, in retaliation for me filing for child support, he went to the local police department, and I'm not sure who he reported this to first, but he alleged that I molested his son from the other relationship who had been living with us. Yes. Now, there's two things that I think he used to help corroborate his allegations. One, he had some weird recording on his phone, which you could hear a TV in the background and you can actually hear his son in the distance, playing. He tried to force me to listen to this recording one time when I was pregnant. I was like, no, I'm not listening to that. He was trying to claim that it was me sleeping with somebody. But I actually think he took that recording to the police or whoever he reported it to and played it for them. Number two, there was this one night, and I think it was it was Florida winter. It wasn't up north winter. And he was like, yeah, my son's room is kind of cold. He had worked third shift. He's like, is it okay if he sleeps on the floor in our room? And at the time, I was thinking it was kind of odd, but I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Looking back, I think that he had him do that so that he could use that also as part of his. He was
setting you up.
So.
Yeah, he was setting you up.
I'm sitting in my living room, knock at the door. Hi, I'm so-and-so of Family Services. I was like, yeah, I already knew this is now. He had sent me a threatening email before this lady showed up and said something crazy I know what you did. I know what you did. I don't know what he was saying. So by the time she got there and said she was Family Services, I knew it had something to do with my son's father. And so I told her, she's like, really? You know I'm here? I was like, yeah. My son's father is mad because I filed for child support. And he's doing this to get back at me. So she looked around my home. I don't remember. She asked me the questions. I shared with her that he had been abusive. I shared with her some other information. Thank you, Jesus. She left with my son being able to stay with me because that could have gone a totally different way. And mark my words, had they taken my son, I probably would have never seen my son again without having spent tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees and attorney fees and stuff. So I had to call my family and say, by the way, someone's going to be calling you to interview you because I've been accused of child molestation. They actually never told me what the potential charges would have been or whatever. A detective did come over. I had to do another DNA swab. At this time, I had already done a paternity test with my son's father, swabbed me, my son's sitting on my lap, swabbed my son. I agreed to send her over a batch of emails that I had of my son's father, like threatening me and this and that. So that's the first time I've ever shared what the allegations were. I've always been scared to share that because all crimes are bad. But when you are accused of molesting a child,
Yeah,
that is, I can't, it was like soul crushing. I actually have over 10 years of experience in childcare, and anybody that would know me would see like how absurd that was. But to have to like tell your family who already judges you that someone's accusing you of molesting a child was like the most humiliating thing in my entire life. It was so humiliating. And unfortunately, because I have to prove that I didn't do it, it's not like a closed case per se. It's done. It was obviously unfounded to a certain extent. Nothing came of it. I had people encouraging me after the fact, you need to sue him for defamation or whatever. You need to get him in trouble. But I was like, no, I'm going to let it go, because this is the type of person, as bad as it sounds, you really want to think twice about fighting back. And for me, I'm a believer. I'm not going to go into the whole religion thing, but I'm a spiritual person. I'm religious, and I just believe that people get judged when it's their time to be judged. There's just certain things that man has to just kind of leave alone. And honestly, there's really nothing more that I could do. So it feels good actually, like getting that out, because that's like a dark cloud that literally follows me around every single day.
And that's what this podcast is for.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, this podcast is nothing but people gossiping and getting... No. When people have gotten stuff off their chest, I've had people on here that have shared their story for the very first time. And it's just the same reaction you just said. It was like, wow, it feels good to get this off my chest. And that's what this is for. Because you're not the only one that's going through this. I'm sure someone else is going through something like this. It's sad how many people, and they don't know how to express it, get it off their chest, or they don't know who to talk to, or they don't have a support system.
Yeah.
And like you said yourself, you technically don't have a support system because you can't go to your mom or your siblings or anything, because they like you said, they judge you. Mm-hmm. And nowadays we live in a world where you're guilty until there is no more you're innocent until proven guilty. You're now guilty.
Yeah.
Straight out. You're just 100% guilty. So it's crazy. I don't even know what to ask next.
It's a heavy burden to carry something like that around. And there are a lot of people out there who have gone through parents using the court system to get back at the other parent. And it's just unimaginable to me. And the other sad thing about it is his other son. Like, what in the world? You obviously told him to lie.
Exactly.
And I don't think that this is it's not the first time that he's done something like this to one of the mothers of his kids. I would bet $1 trillion it's not the first time. I'm sure it's not. And it all now makes sense, like why he couldn't find some of them. They don't want to be found. He's a dangerous... People like that are dangerous. Those ones that are so charming and you look like the crazy one. He's that type of person.
Yeah, it sounds like your ex is my ex too, because same exact person that to this day we've been separated for what now 15 years, and till this day I tried to kidnap her. I was abusive. Yes, I made the mistake. I clotheslined her, and she fell back. she hit her head and ended up going to the hospital. Yes, I did that. But the stories that she makes up in her head about what really happened is like, at this point, I laugh. I'm like, at first I would get pissed off and like, fuck, why is she fucking saying that? Why is she telling strangers this shit? And then I've learned to just like, that's just who she is. She's never gonna, she's always gonna be, I'm always gonna be the bad guy. And it's my job to prove her wrong. My actions prove louder, speak louder than words.
Yeah.
Like I said it before, where my son was like maybe 7 years old and he comes up to me, or 7 or 9, and he said, Dad, you're not an asshole. And I'm like, the hell? What do you mean? What's your definition of an asshole? He's like, a mean person. And I'm like, okay, well, he goes, but you're not that. I'm like, well, who keeps saying that I'm an asshole? It's my mom. My mom always says you're an asshole, but I don't see it. I'm like,
need auto insurance or an SR22? Like now, SolarX Insurance gets you covered fast. No license, no problem. We speak your language, shop the best rates, and get you back on the road today. Call 877-736-4719. That's 877-736-4719. Visit slxinsurance.com or call now 877-736-4719. Quick, easy, done. Solar X Insurance. Drive with confidence.
interesting. Write that one down for the courts. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, seriously. And that's the tricky thing. I can remember actually before I had children, I would hear of a lot of mostly women, but like looking at their child and be like, oh, you look just like your father. You act just like your father. And like building up like this underlying resentment for a child that did absolutely nothing just because they look like their dad.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, I get it, but how could you like begrudge a child because they look like they're the other parent and then treat them some kind of way? And I get it because my son, he looks mostly like me, but he's got the same smile as his father. And it is hard sometimes to see that because it does remind you of that person. But at the same token, my son is his own person. He's separate.
I'm sorry, finish that statement.
Oh, no, I'm just saying like my son is his own person.
Yeah.
Like I can't look at him and be like, oh, because some parents do like, oh, I just can't stand you. They will say that to their kid. And that's how I get it. But I just personally could not bring myself to do that.
The mother of my kids, she, like I said, everyone knows she did me dirty so many times. So when our youngest was born, he's a spin image of me. He looks just like me. And that's the stab that I threw at her one day. I'm like, hey, you didn't want me around, but now you got to wake up next to me every fucking day.
Right.
She came to pick them up maybe about a month ago to take them to wherever they took them to. I think she took them to Universal or something like that. And my wife can hear her. I was at work, but my wife can hear her from the front yard saying, oh my God, you look like your dad from this stage in his life. Oh my God. And then the other one, oh my God, you look like your dad from this stage and whenever he was at this stage in his life. So, yeah, they say that when the one person hates the other one so much while they're pregnant, that child will look like the other person.
That's so funny. But you do a lot of damage to your children because they're going to like, how are they going to feel good about themselves when you're basically pointing out that you remind them of like somebody horrible and evil? How are they going to feel about themselves?
And we go back to my son finding out the definition of his middle name, why it's spelled the way it's spelled. And it bothered him for a long time. Because he feels like, the things that she ever said, any things that she said about me or all the things she said about me, he's fighting himself to be like, shit, is this true? Is this not true? What's really going on? What's the real story? He actually told us recently, he told my wife and myself, like, hey, I'm going to be 18 soon. Yeah. He goes, can I go through the file cabinet? Because that's where we keep all the court documents.
Ah.
And not that he doesn't believe us, but he found a little, it's not a diary, it's a pocket calendar. And my lawyer back in the day told me to have a pocket calendar to write everything down. because when you go to court, when you're in mediation, if you have to think of a date or an event on the dot, on a spot, and you don't have it, like you can pull up your calendar. They won't read it, but the fact that you took the time to write it down, they take it serious. So he was reading it, and he was like, "Fuck, that really happened." I'm like, "Give me that book. You're not 18 yet." Yeah, he was reading, going through the pages, and he was like, "My dad wrote everything down. What time I picked them up, what time I dropped them off, when they were." If they showed up dirty, if they showed up messy or whatever,
Right.
everything was written down. And I think the one that caught his attention was the one that said the reason why my son was fat was because of me. And because he at a certain, I mean, elementary, I think he just blew up. And then as he got into junior high and high school, he stretched out. And that's exactly what his doctor told us a long time ago. He goes, "Don't worry about his weight. He's going to stretch out. He's going to stretch out. Once he hits high school, he will, at junior high." And I made a home video of for his 18th birthday of his baby's days till now. And you can see the transaction of him stretching out.
Yeah.
And but she blamed me for his weight. And it wasn't even like that. Even my brother Danny, he's like, "I was the same way. I was short and chubby, and then I stretched." And now he's like 6'5", you know?
Yeah.
So he was like, so yeah, she would blame me for a lot of stuff. And that's one thing that caught his attention when he was reading that book. So I saw the look on his face. So I had to take the book out of his hands. "Give me that book. You're done reading. You're not 18 yet. You're not 18 yet." And honestly, even at 18, I don't think he's mature enough to read it. Because
No.
there's just too much in there. There's too much.
Yeah.
So, but so let's get back to it, back on track. How did becoming a mother change your perspective on mental health?
It changed it drastically, as in I need to address mine so that so I can be the healthiest parent. I feel like it'd be very easy for me to parent out of guilt if I don't address my mental health, if that makes sense. Because, yeah, do I feel some kind of way that he doesn't have the family unit that I wanted him to have? Absolutely. But at the same token, if we would have stayed, we could both be dead. I mean, I'm so fortunate I was able to escape that relationship. So I have to have my best mental health to be the best parent that I can be. And that for me to have my mental health best, that means I have to address the traumas that I've been through. So I want my son to know about mental health. I mean, I always equated mental health with mental illness. I didn't look at it as physical health. You go to the doctor, you take your vitamins, you have a healthy diet, you exercise. We need all those things for our mental health as well. But because I grew up thinking that mental health was only mental illness, I had a distorted thing, and I just didn't learn how to take care of myself in that way. So I want my son to know that mental health is the same as physical health. It just has to do with your mind more so.
So do you model emotional wellness towards your son?
Yes, that has been it's challenging in that because of the trauma I've been through, my anxiety and things of that nature can make me a little more not short-tempered, a little more impatient, we'll say. And so if I'm having a rougher day, I'm really, really conscious to make sure that that doesn't carry through in how I'm interacting with him, if that makes sense. So it's definitely, I try to model emotional regulation. Clearly, if I'm upset about something, I'm not one to throw stuff around or things like that. But I do make sure if I'm frustrated or even frustrated with him, he knows I love you. I'm just frustrated with the situation. Yeah. And he even told me one time, he said, "Well, I feel like when I make mistakes or I do something wrong that you don't love me anymore." And you have to grow up and be willing to take that feedback from your kids. Does it feel good that he said that to me? Absolutely not. But I'm glad that he felt he could tell me that so that I can do better. And of course I tell him I love him and stuff all the time, but I think it was just that thing of like, if I make mistakes, then I'm loved less. And you know what? That's what I felt when I was a child. So like you shared at the beginning with, you get to see those signs that you've broken the cycle. Anytime my son feels free to share how he really feels about something and is honest, that's like a win for me, because I didn't feel like I could do that as a child. And in fact, I don't even know how my parents would have reacted, to be honest with you. I don't know. But yeah, I see where my parents could have improved when I was a child. I see that in him. I see little moments of myself, and it's just a wild, it's a wild ride.
Yeah. Yeah. To go back to earlier, you said you had lost someone to suicide.
Yeah.
Can you share how that experience impacted you?
That was one of the hardest seasons like ever. And I never actually got to meet this person in person, which made it all the more kind of like bizarre for me. I think a lot of times we feel like we have to have known somebody for 10 years or met them in person to grieve. But the Suffering Podcast is a podcast I started listening to last year. One of the co-hosts died by suicide. It was last year. And I don't know, it hit me really, really hard because I've been there.
I didn't know Robin Williams, and it hit me.
Yeah. And I think it's because we've been in those dark places. We were able to choose a different option than some of these other people were. And I think that's what really hit me. And that too. And it's just like, he had just been on an Instagram live, I think maybe a night or two before it happened. So I think that too, when you see somebody, they're there 1 minute and they're gone the next, that also is like really rough. But I cried every day for about 2 weeks. I had to have my earbuds in with music because if there was silence, my anxiety was like bad. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It was really, really weird, but I forced myself to like sit with those feelings and process them so that the next time something like that would maybe happen, it wouldn't be so hard. And I truly believe the unresolved emotions that I had from my best friend almost ending her life, I think that those came out when this happened. I truly believe that because in high school, I didn't know how to handle my best friend almost leaving this earth.
Right.
And I don't even remember. I went to see a counselor, but it was a guy counselor. So as a teenage girl, I didn't feel comfortable talking to a guy counselor about that. So I think it was just a lot of unresolved feelings around death and suicide that bubbled up when Mike passed away. So that was the start, though, of where I am today. I truly today, like right here is an example of something positive and like bright and beautiful coming out of such a sad, tragic situation.
What do you wish more people understood about mental health and suicide prevention?
You know, something that gets me every single time I see a story about suicide is they seemed like they were fine. And that's the key. That is the key. You don't know what someone's going through. You don't. I mean, I'm going through stuff right now talking to you, and I probably seem like fine, like, Saturday weekend. You know what I'm saying? But that gets me every time, and it's so true. And it's like, well, they would never. The other thing that gets me is like they didn't want to end their life. Well, how do you know that? That's not like a topic of like breakfast conversation. Oh, by the way, I don't want to be here anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And that's why you never can tell what people are going through. And that's why we have to talk about it.
I recently I had a friend of mine. I checked my spam. I'm waiting for an important email, and I checked my spam emails, and I saw his name popped up, and it says shared 14 images, which I damn well know it's spam. It's not real.
Yeah.
Multiple times I saw his name on there. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is spam. I sent him a screenshot, and I told him jokingly, "Hey, bro, why are you sending me nude photos of yourself?" You know, like just joking around. And he's like, What is that?" I'm like, "No, it's just spam, bro. I'm messing with you." It's like, "Spam, but how are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, not so good." And I said, and how it went from me sending him just a screenshot. I haven't spoken to him in almost a year. A screenshot led to him calling me and venting to me that he had just lost his mom. And to me, I was glad that I was there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad that that event happened in my spam. I'm glad that I'm waiting for an important email to be able to check on my friend. I wasn't able to make it to his mom's funeral, but I told him the next time that I'm in town, because I don't live in the same city. I'm an hour and a half away, that I would reach out to him and maybe take him to breakfast or something and hang out with him, because I have not seen him in a while. And this is someone that I've known since the 9th grade. And I personally knew his mom. She was a great mom. I wish that all moms were like his mom, you know. And I saw his sister post a video of a photo of their mom, and I said, "You had a great mom. She was a great mom," you know. And like I said, it's like I tell my daughter recently too, because my daughter's like, "Dad, I only call you to vent," and I told her, "I'd rather hear you vent. I'd rather lend you my ear than then later on speak at your funeral."
Yeah.
And that's pretty much kind of like what you were saying earlier. You know, we don't mind. I don't mind using my podcast to have you vent. That's what it's for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just, you just have to check on the strong friends, as they say, and that's so true. It's so true. I'm one of those people that will tell you I'm fine when I'm not, every time.
Yeah.
Every single time, because I didn't grow up with that emotional safety to share vulnerable things. It was more like, suck it up. I mean, look, my parents, from all outward appearances and maybe from different testimonials of my siblings, are good people. They are very good people. They are. Certainly. But also it speaks to, you don't necessarily have to grow up in an environment where people are throwing things or yelling and shouting for it to be harmful. Yeah, so it's just reach out to those strong friends for sure. And when you don't have anyone to talk to, I mean, it's really tough.
Like I said, at the moment, back in the day when I was going through my issues, I felt like I didn't have anyone to talk to. But my compadre, he would drive from Whittier to you're good.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, sorry.
He would drive from Whittier to Oxnard, like hour and a half, 2 hours, just to make sure that I responded on my text. It's like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. So, but you say recovery. You've said recovery multiple times. What does recovery look like for you today?
Today, to be honest with you, I'm really like diving into like mental health recovery, because it's similar to like physical recovery. Like when you're recouping from like a physical injury, you go to maybe physical therapy or you're exercising specific muscles. It's like the same thing with mental health recovery. You have to like exercise those mental muscles by having that self-awareness and like venting and not holding stuff in and giving yourself time. I mean, I would say you could have like a 12-step program for mental health recovery if you came up with something like that. It's all recovery, no matter if it's mental, from substance abuse, mental health. It's a step-by-step process. There's no one size fits all for how to recover. And there's no like final destination either. I really just don't think that there is, because unless there's people out there that are physically, mentally healthy and they do no maintenance, like I would love to learn their secrets. Me personally, especially as I get older, I have to definitely have physical maintenance with my body, but certainly like mentally. So it's all about maintenance. And so recovery for me right now is being honest with myself. And a big thing that I'm working on is being able to like really be at peace and sit still. So recently I've been tracking how many times or in what circumstances I'm not allowing myself to be at peace. For example, I took my son to the pool a couple days ago, right? And I'm supposed to be like watching him play, sitting and relaxing. And what am I doing? I'm calculating if somebody drowns, how long is it going to take me to go into the little guest house, pool house thing, get the little first aid sled thing that they have, bring it up here. Like, hello, I'm supposed to be relaxing, but I'm sitting here playing a scenario that's not even happening. And I caught myself and I literally like started laughing, like, what is wrong with you, girl? Like, just relax. And then the other day, I several times within an hour had to tell myself, girl, nobody in this world is sitting around working 24/7. I will sit down and try to watch TV and then I'll tell myself, no, we need to start working on blogs for next week when I don't need to. But it's like having that self-awareness and being honest with yourself is the only way you're going to recover from those things.
Back to the laughing part. They say the reason why we laugh and we say it is what it is because we've been through some shit that nothing can.
Yeah.
Not that we laugh at other people's expenses, but you know, we can laugh at shit. For example, and I kind of laughed. This lady on TikTok, I'm putting her on blast, but this lady on TikTok yesterday, she posted a video, and she was talking about how she shared a video, and none of her followers liked her video. None of her followers saw her video, but other people. People that aren't her followers, they saw the video, but not her followers. So she was thinking of, this is time to start deleting followers, you know, start deleting. So I commented, I'm like, you know, I don't complain. I mean, I get likes from videos on my videos. Not that I'm looking for a number count, but I'm
right.
I do, again, I do this. This is a hobby. This is not for me to get rich or make money off of it. This is a hobby. And so I made a comment. I'm like, I see likes on my videos. I see views on my videos, but for most part, I can't say the same thing like from my followers. And then she was like, but then she gave her a little explanation, but you know, I understand. Maybe I'm a little overreacting, la, la, la. I'm like, yeah, from my point of view, threatening to delete people is a little extreme, don't you think? And I laughed because I thought it was hilarious. To her, maybe it wasn't hilarious, but to me it was. Yeah, she deleted the video. She deleted the video. I thought it was hilarious that she's going on a little rant because her followers didn't like her videos. I thought that was hilarious. I'm over here trying to share mental health, and I'm not complaining because people aren't. I thought it was the most funniest thing ever, and I was expecting to see, you know, when they post another video and they tag your question on it or whatever. I was waiting for that. She's gonna fucking tag me and she's gonna talk shit.
That's so funny.
Nope, she deleted the video. So, nope. We've been through hell and back. That everything to us, that pain on that situation, it's funny. It's hilarious.
Absolute. You are so true. And that's how I think about, so when, even now, like when a challenge comes, I remind myself of some of the hell that I've been through. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such small potatoes compared to what I just came out of. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Let's see here. Why do you believe sharing our stories is such a powerful part of healing for ourselves and for others?
I think at the heart of it, no matter who you are, what age you are, what gender, whatever, everybody just wants to be seen and wants to be heard. Now, whether they want to add acceptance and be understood on top of that, at the heart of it, that's just what everybody wants to be seen and heard. And I know for me, because I should have been able to heal from a whole lot of things so many years ago, that it's just, I now understand the importance of like talking about things to heal from them. I mean, I've got diaries with very explicit entries of stuff that I've been through, but my diary doesn't grow a mouth and like have a conversation with me about it. It just lies dormant. But I feel like when we share our stories, like those struggles and stuff, they come to life in a way that we're able to like process it. We're able to cry about it, be pissed about it, but then we're able to have somebody see that and hear that. My journal, I'm the only one who sees it. So is that really helping me? And look, I'm the damaged one seeing my own damage. That's not helpful. It's helpful if you can have outsiders see the damage and stuff like that and like help you find your way through it. But we can't get that support and help if we stay silent. And not only that, sharing whatever you've gone through is going to help somebody else. I don't know how many times I've scrolled on social media and been inspired, or, oh my gosh, they're so brave. You know, it's just like a pay it forward type of thing. Like you just, once you've told your story, you want to like encourage other people to do that. But by just letting that stuff sit silent, you're not going to heal from it. You're just not.
So if someone's listening to this episode right now, that's what you want them to take away from this episode?
Yeah, it's just, if you're in a spot where I was just a year ago, like, is anybody going to care? What is the reaction going to be? Just do it. Just do it. And if for some reason people distance themselves from you because of it, look at that as a blessing. As hard as it is, I've had to distance myself from family, friends, all sorts of people. But because I was able to put myself out there and those, no offense, sorry, not sorry though, those rotten fruit fell off.
Yeah.
I now have new fruit growing, and I now do have like people who support me unconditionally. So it's going to be scary to get your story out there, and you might have some negative residual effects, but for whatever you lose, you will gain. I can 1,000,000% guarantee that you will gain whatever you've lost, and it'll be even better.
That is great. That is amazing. Beautiful. Beautiful. We're coming close to the end of the podcast episode. I always ask my guests if they have children under the age of 18. I always say that I don't recommend kids listen to these episodes because I feel like these are grown-up conversations. Mm-hmm. But the moment that they turn 18 and they want to listen to them, I know I have some of my kids' friends that listen. But for you, if your son were to listen to this episode in 8 years from now, when he turns 18, what message would you have for him based on your experiences?
I think it would be to believe in yourself. I never believed in myself as a kid. No, certainly there were people around me who believed in me and told me that all the time, like, you can do this, you can do it, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't believe in myself. I didn't. And because of that, a lot of tricky things happened. So when somebody says you can do something, believe that you can do it, not just because they're telling you that, but because you can. Like, you have to believe in yourself. And, you know, that goes both ways, though, too. If you don't believe in yourself, how will other people believe in you? So I don't ever want him to lose his confidence. And I don't want him to ever lose that confidence, because that's going to take him so much further than I ever went, because I didn't have that confidence as a kid.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. That's good. That's real good. Like I said, I wish that we all had something like that, you know, but we didn't. So,
yeah.
Before I end this, I do want to remind my listeners that this episode was brought to you by SolarX Insurance. Fast, friendly, and affordable coverage you can count on. Need an SR22, ride a motorcycle, already have insurance? SolarX has you covered. They help all drivers no matter the situation. Call today at 877-736-4719. That is 877-736-4719. And get back on the road with confidence. Yes, I have a sponsor, and it feels good to say it.
Awesome, though. That's awesome.
But it was amazing having you on the podcast. Thank you. Again, like I say, this is the first time that I actually have a nice amount of notes. If I looked distracted, it's because I was trying to figure out which question to ask you next. There was a list of them, and since as you're talking and you kind of switch the story around, I had to figure out which ones not to ask, which ones to ask. And but I think it went well, and I thank you for taking the time for coming on the podcast. I thank you for accepting it. And any last words before I end it?
No, thank you so much for having me and letting me share like more parts of my story. And even the stuff you've shared with me is stuff I'm going to apply, like just really looking out for those times where you really are breaking the cycle. It can help you reinforce that good parenting that you're doing. So I appreciate that you shared that. That's something I'm going to look out for like all the time, especially on those hard days where you feel like you can't do anything right. They hate you. They don't want to be near you. But then they'll show you that moment that you're doing the best that you can.
Well, so you've made a friend, and you have me here. There is a guest that I had on the podcast a few times, and they call me once a month so we can catch up. So you've made a friend. I'm here, and Caralyn, like I end every podcast, thank you for riding with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Indie Podcast. You can also listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean.